He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Dael and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Bat Minute of the Phantasm. This is the podcast where we lean on every minute of Batman Mask of the Phantasm, 1 minute at a time. I am one of the hosts. Nah, oh my god, I'm also one of the folks who's always here, so.
I'm your other folk, John Parker. This podcast is full of freak jobs.
Oh my god, I love this minute so much. But before we jump into why I love this minute so much, we should bring back one of our most distinguished guests. We have returning for one of the many times she's been on the show, but always a pleasure to have on. It's Dael Kingsmill.
Yay! It's distinguished guest Kingsmill. That's me. Thank you for having me.
Distingsmill? That kind of works.
There's something in there. There's a portmanteau somewhere.
Yeah, I was thinking then, like, after the whole dreaded Lerczak thing last week, we could have had dreaded Dael Kingsmill.
Oh, that's what I'm doing in the write-up for the episode. You're dreaded from now on.
Nice.
Just like Batman is, I guess, in this minute. There's a real sense of dread about the Dark Knight himself, which is the thing, as we kind of touched on last minute, where it's like, you kind of assume that he'd want that level of fear the whole time, but it's only now, like, oh my god, he's killing people. Oh, this is a problem for us mobsters. But
It is a big question mark for me that Salvatore is only now going, what? He's never leaned on us before, and I'm sitting there like, why? What?
Yeah.
Bruce.
I mean, look, to do the normal intro, minute 32 opens with discussions with a crusty old corpse, and it ends a minute later with Bruce coming to the revelation of course. Basically, people always like, oh yeah, the Batman animated series, like, oh, you got to see a lot more of Bruce being a proper detective, and in this movie you get to see him do that by basically doing a Google search, where he looks up two names at the same time and sees that both guys work together on a thing.
But
like, oh, there it
a
is.
Google search in 1993, so it is impressive.
Yeah. Back then, I guess this would have taken minutes more to do, potentially.
He would have had to ask Jeeves, which is ironic since he has Alfred.
Yeah.
Oh, would Alfred would he be offended by Jeeves? He's like, that's a gross caricature.
By Jove, I would never wear my bow tie like that. It would be weird actually seeing him, like, looking at Ask Jeeves, but like, is that me? Like, what is this?
Maybe Batman, Bruce Wayne invented Ask Jeeves.
No.
Oh, I love it.
There you go.
And then he didn't
Based
like an
on my
Alfred a cut,
father
so he called it Jeeves instead of Alfred.
He has to explain it away. He's like, no, Alfred, honestly, it's better this way.
Other people buddle, Alfred. You're not the only guy who buddles, okay? This could be anybody.
Other people buddle. I've literally never thought of it as like a verb.
You obviously haven't done enough buttling in your time.
No, I always got it from an episode of Frasier where he gets a butler, which is just a phenomenal concept of Frasier gets a butler, because why wouldn't he get a butler?
Of course.
It's Victor, we call the guy who plays Sidney Bristow's dad, an alias, Victor Garber from Titanic and stuff. And at one point he's just like, oh, I learned at my father's knee, Mr. Crane. And he's like, oh, your father buttled. And that was the first time I was like, oh, that's what butler is. It's, someone who buttles. He's a butler.
I don't know if it actually is, but I love saying it.
Oh, and Frasier wouldn't get that wrong. There's no way Frasier Crane would get that wrong. So anyway, we get into, previous episode, Sal's asked, like, oh, is it true? Is the Batman hitting on people?
I'm sorry, I just Googled buttle. And the definition Google has given me is work as a butler.
There you go, it's accurate then.
Of course, then Arthur's he's a bit dickish, like, oh, we have eyewitnesses. someone said he did it, so he definitely did it. What's your problem? Yeah, I keep wanting to call him Maroni because it's clearly Salvatore Valestra is a reference to Salvatore Maroni because they never did Maroni in the animated show, or shockingly even in like the cartoons and stuff, like, or in the comic spin-offs. The DCAU has never done Sal Maroni. They had an allusion to Falcone at one point very recently in the continuation comics.
That's it.
It's so weird. Yeah, they never go near him.
Wow.
But so every time I keep wanting to call him, even though it's Sal Valestra, I keep wanting to say Sal Maroni. But yeah, so then we get the just amazing delivery from Abe Vigoda, who's just being Abe Vigoda. He's not particularly putting on a performance.
No, he's just reading the lines he's been given. He's not doing a thing.
Yeah, but I just love the, beautiful, just beautiful. Why? He never leaned on us before. I'm too old for this. It's like, it's just the way too he puts his head in his hands like Charlie Brown or something, just like, Batman's coming after us, and it's like he's having a little huff. Like, what am I going to do? Someone stole my football.
Saying I'm too old for this. Well, don't become a crook if you're not all in, baby. You can't just retire.
You can't retire from crime.
No, you chose that. You don't get too old for it.
Yeah.
You're there till you're dead.
Well, and also the thing too, like, had I been a young virile chap, then I would have kicked the crap out of Batman. But I guess he's just like, no, as we addressed before, Dale, it's so odd seeing, like, the flashbacks to, like, young Valestra. It's only been 10 years. Everyone else has aged quite slowly.
It's only been 10... Oh, my gosh, I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, he's aged about 40 years.
How many cigars did he smoke?
Yeah.
What?
Quite a bit. I love, too, they add in the little thing in the novelization about... he has several oxygen tanks.
Oh my gosh, there's a novelization. I'm going to go and read it immediately.
Oh, you'll enjoy it. There's a sub-character, and it's called Burton Ernie.
Oh, jeez.
Who pops up throughout the whole thing. So it's a double
You know
reference.
what, though? They ranked high in my Sesame Street rankings. They ranked high.
Good. Two of the best.
Yeah, but it's also a reference to Tim Burton. You see, oh my God, it's ingenious. And the novelization's by a guy called Geary Gravel. I was like, there's no way that's a real name.
I don't know why, but I know that everything that left me unsatisfied about the film, I will absolutely be satisfied by the novelization. I can feel it in my soul.
This is one thing I really want, though, and tragically now he is finally dead, Abe Vigoda.
Finally? That's
but I really, really, really wish they'd got him to do the audiobook of Mask of the Phantasm. Just because you got like Mike Murphy and Renee Auberjonois doing like Batman Forever, and it's like, well, I would have killed to hear Abe Vigoda just reading out the Chapter 1, the bats on top of the belfry.
Incredible.
That would have been iconic.
Or just to hear him say Geary Gravel, like Mask of the Phantasm by Geary Gravel.
Yes.
Only on Audible.
But yeah. So we got the one thing too. He's got a really weak mustache. I've only really noticed in this.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought it up because it made me very uncomfortable. I didn't, because at first I was like, what is that? And once I put it together that was his mustache, I couldn't look anywhere else. It was so distracting.
I thought, it was meant to be kind of helping to show his age. Like, he's not virile anymore, and it's like grey. It's not even proper. Yeah.
I think it's not so much just grey. It's whittled down to nothing. It's like
thin. It's almost like he forgot to shave, but it's so much worse because it's just like. It's like 5 spaced out, very long hairs. It's my least favorite mustache.
Of all time.
During one of your many morphine-induced rants at the hospital.
That's another ranking. Yeah.
Top and bottom mustaches, please. We need to know.
I keep trying to think, though, like, there was a guy... This is one of the things, though... It'll be a very minute amount of the audience will remember the guy I'm talking about, because I think he's also dead. But there was a guy in Coronation Street, big UK soap opera, and he ran the textile plant. And I always was really like distracted because he always looked like he had a mustache. But I'm pretty sure the actor just had a weird line across his lip.
Who was this? Which character?
What did you call him? He was one of the guys. He was like a main character for a long, long time. What was it? It wasn't one of the Battersbys. I'll have to look it up between episodes or something. This is going to bug me now.
I'll be honest, it's been that long since I've seen any of those. And I hated them when I did see them, that I don't remember any characters.
Mike Baldwin? Was that what you called him? Let's see. Look. Yeah. Dale, if you go and look up Mike Baldwin, Coronation Street, you'll see.
I'm on it. I'm asking Jeeves.
Oh, him.
You're just like, don't wait up. I'm going to look up Mike Baldwin.
Because he looks like a guy who would have a mustache as well.
That's my whole thing. It's like, I think it was phantom mustache syndrome you got going on. Where I was like, he looks like he should have a mustache, but apparently it's not a mustache. It's like a really faint little line across his...
It's because he's so masculine now that he can't stop it growing through in like seconds.
Interesting.
I also read that recently, that book that John Waters wrote, where he tried to hitchhike across America, and he kind of did it. But there's a book he wrote about it, and like he says, like literally the first is he left his office, and everyone was telling him, like, for the love of God, John, don't do this. Like he realized like a day into it, he's like, oh, I didn't even bring like my mustache trimmer with me or anything. So it's like the idea of people picking up John Waters with like this big bushy mustache because he can't keep his usual pencil thin little thing going.
That'd be wrong. I can't imagine it.
Well, but
he's got to look like a weird little perv. That's his whole thing.
It's very important to his brand.
It is. That's the thing. Yeah, it literally is his brand, isn't it? I'm a creepy weirdo.
How do you recognize John Waters if he doesn't have the weird little creepy mustache?
Yeah, I have John Waters' autograph. I'm looking at it right now. And I asked him to draw me a picture when I got it. And he said the only thing I can draw is a mustache. So he just drew, it's just two little lines. They're like, that's a mustache. But I should have asked him to do can you draw me a Sal Valestra mustache, though?
Oh, yeah, I'm a master of those.
It's just 5 lines. It's like, I can only do the Mike Baldwin, I'm sorry. But yeah. Anyway, we just get into, like, it's not so much, I have so many notes on what he's talking about. I just love the delivery so much. Because, Arthur is just like, well, you could ask for, police protection, I guess. It kind of like, because we just know Sal Valestra is like a business owner of some repute, we find out later.
Yeah.
And then I guess as a renowned businessman, he could be like asking for, but he's a known mobster, I guess, at least to... We don't know how many... I guess Batman just never knew that this guy was corrupt. He just thought he was some business owner.
Batman just wasn't paying attention to the gangsters.
Yeah. He's clearly a crook.
It seems like he's got a multiple level crime family going where he had like 3 other guys in it with him. Mm-hmm. And I guess Batman was too focused on Rupert Thorne or whatever to be like, oh yeah, there's other gangsters. And it never occurred to him that like, maybe Sal Valestra
crossed his mind.
Yeah, maybe he was so good at what he did. It's like, Batman never... That's why his whole thing is like, they never leaned on us before. Was like, he's never figured out that we were keeping it so clean. It was running so efficiently that Batman never stumbled on the fact that like, Bruce, we were full-blown gangsters this whole time.
World's greatest detective. And he's like in the room with them multiple times before he figures out
Wait a minute.
There's anything going on.
Now, even if the police know that he is a mob boss, right? Even if they did. I mean, technically they still have to protect him, right?
Oh,
because
totally,
it's still illegal for Batman to come for him. Batman is a criminal.
Wait, I'm trying to think this through. Okay, because surely it's because he would have to go, Batman is killing me, is going to kill me. I know this because he's knocked off these other people who were known crime people, and he's been killing them for their crime, and he's going to kill me for my crime. So maybe it's about having to like admit to the crime specifically in order to give reasonable belief that he's the next target. Maybe that's what it is.
I guess he could just be like, I was in business with these 2 guys who got murdered, so I guess I'm scared of being next. And they're like, why would Batman be killing you? I don't know. He could just be it's coincidence, I guess,
I'm pretty
just
sure though that
no one knows Batman's handwriting.
Even if he does admit it, though, I think the police like kind of have to go.
I think they would have to protect him, but I think that it would be like protective custody in the sense of we'll put you in a cell, and also we will then process your crimes, but you probably won't be killed by Batman while in prison.
Exactly.
Which I can understand why that wouldn't be like ideal.
Maybe they just were like, he might be like, oh, Batman just has beef with my companies. He can't work out what Adam's Tool and Die does.
Yeah.
Much like we'll get to in this episode, where I was just like, what? But yeah, then we get the...
Are there not enough corrupt police?
Yeah, that's another point, yeah.
You know?
I think Arthur Reeves already has Harvey Bullock on his side. He'd be like, oh, Bullock's guys will take care of you, I guess.
The cops are all ready and rearing to kill Batman.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd even need to go by official channels. Just tell one corrupt cop, hey, you're already on our payroll. We need you to, send more patrols by my place or whatever.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering actually last minute, too. When that blimp comes along, and Batman's like, I'm out of here. And just like slinks away in the night. Like, was he particularly worried about that blimp seeing him? Because they're like, oh, the police are all after me currently.
He was worried about the blimp seeing him cry.
Oh.
Shuffling behind the thing before he can see him.
I always check for blimps. When I'm going to cry, look out for blimps, always.
Yeah, that's the motto.
The front page of the Gotham Globe is just like, Batman cries. The next day, like, what? You can't say that, that's slander. No, in print, it's libel. They're doing a little Spider-Man crossover there, I guess.
I found out recently, especially in America, it's almost impossible to prove slander anyway. You never really win the case.
Interesting.
So you can go out and just print whatever you want about Batman, I guess. Although I guess maybe if it's libel, then you can prove libel easily. But slander, it's one person's word against the other, I guess.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know if a Batman would consider it slander what Maestro says next. But like he is saying something that I guess Batman wouldn't do, although he did do it in Batman Begins. But he has the whole thing where he's like, what are you, a comedian? This is the Batman we're talking about here. A freak job. He'll crucify me. Which is like, I just love that. I love everything about like old cowardly gangster terrified of Batman. And it's the idea that he's just like, what are you saying? I'm freaking out, man. This guy's gonna come, he's gonna kill me. What am I gonna do?
Someone should off him and literally crucify him. That would be an interesting visual in the movie.
Very dramatic.
Yeah.
Well, there's a little element of me. I'm like, well, Chris Nolan in Batman Begins. That's how they invent the bat signal. So Carmine Falcone is crucified on the bat signal.
That's true. I didn't even think of that. Holy crap.
Yeah. And apparently that was what Dan Waters, of course, writer of Heathers and then the Heathers musical, as we discussed briefly. He apparently wanted to do that to Knox. He hated the character of Knox from '89 so much when he was one of his first drafts.
Which one's Knox again?
He's the annoying reporter guy who hangs around with Vicky Vale. They say he can't be killed.
That seems like an extreme reaction to Knox.
Oh, yeah. Totally. We grew to love Knox over the season. And like, apparently, though, Dan was like, no, I hated him so much, I had him killed and crucified on the bat signal. That was one of my. And the studio were like, nah, man, we'll just not have him in it. I guess, but that's so
that
much.
Is a bit much.
We still barely get the. Yeah, Knox is still. He made that one appearance on Crisis on Infinite Earths on the CW or whatever. That's all we've ever had of him since. It's still.
Let's get him back. The time is right.
Start the petition.
Yes.
We've been petitioning since '89 to get him back. But now you've got the muscle. You've got your D&D crowd behind you. They can get it done.
Hey, D&D fans, I know that this is a little outside of your zone, but
I'm sure they all love Knox.
No. So I ranked Knox on one of my morphine rants as my second least favorite character in Batman '89, way back about 5 years ago.
Well, we're Knox lovers, and you know what? There are dozens of us.
But yeah, so what's he saying? Like, I guess Batman that would be useful for him though, for people to be thinking like, oh, he's gonna come and destroy me. This is like, maybe afterwards he's like, maybe I shouldn't clear my name of those Phantasm murders because it seems to have really put a fear of God into these gangsters. They're really panicking, so...
I just can't help but feel like Batman's not been doing the most efficient job in the world if they already didn't have the fear of God in them.
Yeah, it's like, he'll just come and punch me, I guess. But, friggin' Valestra, one punch, he just turned to dust at this point. He's so desiccated. But...
Well, when he starts coughing because he's so worked up, he sounds like he's going to cough his lungs up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I made a joke when Arthur gets out of the car and says it's not very healthy in here, and I was like, yeah, you know what? That's social distancing. Good job. There's a guy in there who's coughing a bunch. Get out of the car. But then I feel like the joke fell flat because my brother pointed out that the man clearly has like his lungs are failing. He is soon to die.
I think they specify in the novelization and stuff that it's emphysema he has.
I was gonna guess emphysema.
Yeah. Still one of my all-time favorite Simpsons jokes. Because it's just so clever. It's one of those things of like, who wrote that? How did that come together? Where Troy McClure and Selma are having dinner, like on a dinner date, and she lights up a cigarette at the restaurant. And then the guy next door was like, I asked for a Zima, not emphysema. And I always think, because it was one of those things like I only found out years later that like a Zima is like a brand of drink in America.
It was a drink, yeah. I think it's discontinued now.
Yeah, but putting that together, I was like, that's a great joke. That's one of those things that like the writer must have had that in their back pocket for years.
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta link Zima and emphysema
There's got to be a way to make this work.
Yeah,
And it did.
And finally, back in like 1997, someone was finally like, here we go. I finally got that out of my pocket. I got that stone out of my shoe. But yeah. So, and also too, like, I always appreciate a good someone calling Batman a freak job. It's just a little pet love of mine, and it continues to this day. Still, even in friggin' everywhere he goes in the Batman, people are like, freaking freak. Look at you, goddamn asshole wearing a mask. Who do you think you are?
I also think that the oxygen tank is such a neat little bit of characterization for one of your bad guys. Like, I mean, even though I am confused by it now that you've pointed out that it's only been 10 years, that's a lot. That's a lot to have changed in 10 years, I suppose. But it's just, that introduction when he first, gets introduced and he's like falling over himself trying to find the oxygen tank, and then you see him in the car with his oxygen tank, and then his demise in the hands of the Joker feels connected in a sense. But it's just kind of it's a nice little thing. Like, it wasn't deep or important, but it made him stand out.
Yeah,
absolutely. It gives him some personality because he could just be generic. But also, I like how it kind of shows that he might be super powerful, but he's weak.
Yeah.
Like, so he's scared, and it's more interesting that the character's terrified.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's really ties in well to the whole, because this movie's so much about like the passage of time and the decisions we make and stuff.
Yes.
His decision to keep smoking is like, this once powerful man is now reduced to like a shriveled little husk who's just coughing his lungs out constantly, and that's because of the decisions he made. And it just has that thing of like, way back when he's a big shot, and now this is what happens to everybody. Like, eventually
it also
you might
adds to his sense of like desperation. As it keeps, sort of compounding, and then finally bringing the Joker into the fold, which I have to admit, this is embarrassing because I should have seen it coming, but I didn't realize that the Joker was going to be a thing. There was a point, it was literally my brother at some point who was watching it with me was like, that guy looks like the Joker, and I was like, that seems like too much of a coincidence. And then, but
was he talking about the driver? Because when I first saw this when I was a kid, I thought Arthur Reeves was going to turn out to be the Joker because he was like, he looks weirdly like him. And then when it turned out the Joker was already a thing, it was like, I guess that makes sense. And then I just didn't piece together. It was like, right, he was the driver. Okay. this is really spinning me for a loop, this thing. But okay.
But no, he saw it coming. I didn't see it coming until he said it. But even then, it's a neat little way to tie in to loop in the Joker to build up this bad guy who is so desperate that he would go to the Joker for help.
Yeah.
Neat.
It's also like it's a thing like we brought up again in Chris Nolan in the Dark Knight movies, where like what's the plot line of the Dark Knight? These gangsters are getting desperate, so who do they turn to? The Joker. And it's like, oh, that is a good plot line. I always enjoy that when they're just like, because in '89 the Joker's associated with gangsters, but he kind of just bulldozes his way into things. But yeah, it's only the Dark Knight that's really like, oh, what if we went to this guy? He seems to know what he's doing, and then it turns out
I feel like I did sense sort of the legacy of Mask of the Phantasm in elements of the Dark Knight. Not in huge big ways necessarily, but like little bits and bobs, like when the Joker, sets fire to his half of the money. I feel like that echoes Mask of the Phantasm later on in a different minute. I know I always do this, but when Valestra's like, well, I can get you money, and he's like, I don't need money. Like,
yeah,
that's not what I want.
Yeah. What do I look like, you pest control? Well, that business, yeah.
You're too good at that voice, but I suppose you've spent your whole life doing it.
Oh, the scenes between him and Valestra happened to him my whole life. It's Batman. He's gone nuts. First he whacked Chucky Saul, then Buzz. Now he's after me.
I tell you what also shows that he's a weak kind of individual now is that Arthur has the balls to tell the driver to pull over and say it's not very healthy in here. So, whoa! That is like a bold move.
Yeah.
That was, I think I started the note way ages ago. The point I meant to bring up when I was saying in the novelization, they're talking about he has multiple oxygen tanks. They add in the detail that it's proper yellowed, the plastic of the face mask, because it's like, which makes it seem even more sickly and like, he's had it for ages and he's used it so much that it's just like a decayed looking oxygen mask as well. And yeah you kind of do get the vibe of like, it would be you feel like you're just in a room with a dying old man, basically. But
you don't say it to a mob boss. Like, even if he is dying, it's like, holy crap.
I think, again, though, that's just how much Valestra's fallen. That, like, this guy, he should be like, we were responsible for your glam up, man. You used to be like a dweeb. And then, presumably, what happened was that...
Oh, man. He did used to be a dweeb. That hair. He looked like the bug guy, Weevil from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
All I could think when they showed flashback Arthur.
Amazing. Holy crap.
I wonder if that's how they originally got him in their pocket, was just like, they were walking, like, listen, kid, you're gonna need to glam this up. And they just did a proper She's All That on Arthur. There's a montage of, like, Valestra, like, Arthur Reeves coming out in different outfits and different haircuts, and Valestra doing thumbs up or thumbs down and stuff. And like, throughout it, you just see, like, the amount of cigarette butts around him just goes up into, like, a little mini mountain. It was that one day, that one montage really did me in, kid. It took so long to get you looking good, let me tell you. No, but yeah, I think that's one of the finest bits of the minute is like, it's not very healthy in here. And just the look on Valestra's face of like, what? Like, he seems really pathetic and comically so already. And then this is like the almost his lowest ebb to be like, this guy who was like, I made him, basically. Like, I took this guy, and now he's a big shot.
Position, and now he doesn't care enough to help.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, well, get police protection. And then he's got the balls to be like, I'm just going to walk out and leave you, because I don't, like, I'm a city councilman now. I guess maybe his mentality is, you can't touch me. He did almost run him over with a car. Like,
yeah, he almost killed him.
That's true.
That was different. That was an accident.
Valestra should be like, maybe you should get crossing guard protection, asshole. We've got a lollipop man to stand around with you, for Christ's sake.
You know what? I'm making fun, but I kind of, in this COVID-riddled world we now live in, I'm on Arthur's side. Like, that's not healthy to have a guy coughing next to you like that. Get out of that car.
I would not want to be in that Uber.
Yeah, it's the sound of the oxygen mask. It's the real, like, the valve going and the... Like,
but also... Perhaps there's room for me to empathize with Salvatore once again. I'm just playing devil's advocate as an asthmatic person in a COVID world.
Same.
It can be stressful when you've got something that's not contagious that makes you cough.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I'm with you. Big asthma problems myself. I feel it.
Yeah. That sounds like that should be a track in the Monarch's Factory musical. Will be like an asthma girl in a COVID world or something.
An asthma girl in a COVID world, yeah.
We then cut to the Batcave, once more, where I'm assuming you must be able to get like a 10-hour YouTube video of the sounds of bats in the Batcave or something.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Surely.
Yeah, because you get all these ambient sound videos now where you get like, Halloween
Fall asleep
4.
to the Batcave ambience.
Well,
Yeah,
you
totally,
even
so.
get official ones now, don't you? Because Disney makes Star Wars ones and stuff.
That's great.
You get ones like, you can be like the sounds of Rivendell and stuff. You just there's one like the one I frequently use because I just like the storm sounds, but there's a really good one for like Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
where it's just like rain sounds in the jungle, and then you just hear like occasionally you'll hear
nice,
like
nice.
Well, I like to use these things when I'm like reading a comic or I'm making notes, for the show. If it's not, if I finished watching the minute and I don't need to comb through anymore, it's like just put that on in the background to have a mood.
there probably is like blimp sounds, Gotham blimp sounds.
Oh, Gotham blimp sounds.
It's like I would not be.
Zeppelin.
I kind of want to actually one of these things. I'm almost put money down. I just looked that up on YouTube now. It's like Gotham blimp sounds.
There are specific ones. So it's like here's 1 hour of Dark Knight trilogy Batcave ambience. There's the Batman Batcave ambience. Batman the animated series, the Batcave. Yeah,
there you go.
There's a lot of them.
Now see, GCPD.
I like
blimps.
this one because it's
Gotham
not too
ambience.
specific.
It is a thing.
Batman ambience inside the Batcave. That one's my favorite. It's 2 hours almost, and it's not specific to a certain style of Batman, which for some reason I trust more.
Yeah, I imagine the big difference will be that because the Christian Bale Batcave had that waterfall, so you probably get a lot of that.
True.
Or it's the Dark Knight one where he was just like in a bunker, which probably just doesn't sound to anything really. He'll just be like the whole time. But I'm getting bored with it. Yeah, because this one it almost gets to a point where you wonder if Bruce is bugged by like the bat sounds. These guys, it's so quiet in here except for the goddamn bats. But maybe that's getting him into the mindset. He's like,
Let me tell you this much. I don't know about like American cave bats, but there are a lot of flying foxes, which are fruit bats, sort of around where I live, and they live. We had palm trees for a while, and they lived in that, and then we got rid of the palm trees, but now they're in, I guess, a tree just slightly up the street, and I can still hear them. And it's my sister once described it as it sounds like umbrellas having sex. That's the sound of bats. So that's your Batcave ambience.
Oh God! Oh no!
like, Alfred, was that umbrellas having sex? No, it's
Same thing.
but we also got another thing that people really love: the sound of the computer clacking.
Yeah, would that
Ooh,
work in
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like
yeah.
an ASMR way? Do people like enjoy the sound of that?
Dude, there must be, maybe this
I
is the
can
video.
believe it.
We need to make Batman typing at the Bat computer ambience.
Yeah.
Just having the sound of a cave around him and occasionally some bats and just a constant.
Although,
Ooh, at minute 42, Alfred just comes in and puts down a tray of tea. That's my addition to this.
you just want to have a little clink every now and then.
Yes.
This is a great idea. We should genuinely do this for like
This
a
is
laugh.
great.
Yeah.
You should. This would be great, like multimedia Batminute stuff.
Yeah.
This is your outreach to other platforms.
Because some of them are getting so. I remember I come across one time where it was like an ambience video of like people having a party 2 rooms over kind of thing.
Oh, I love those ones. Genuinely,
Yeah.
the ones that are like it's party music, but it's in the other room, so it's all
Yeah.
muffled. I love those. You're in the bathroom at a party. It's it's 11 p.m. and blah blah. Like there would be these little stories wrapped around the sounds.
yeah.
I loved those.
You go on them and you go like, oh, they got a couple of million views, and there's thousands of comments of people going like, oh, thank God someone made this. You're like, oh, wow, people really do have niche tastes out there. But,
So specific.
yeah. One thing I did like, this seems like a thing you would have, John. I love that when Bruce presses the keys, they light up. Like it's like he's got his own little Billie Jean video going on.
That is amazing. I do have a light up keyboard, but can it do that? Maybe it can.
Yeah.
That'd be neat. I've got a light up keyboard. Now I want to know.
Yeah, I've never really tinkered with the settings. I just because
I
some
just
people
let
set
it
it
be
up.
light.
Yeah, mine like rotates through different colors. Like right now it's blue. I can see it's transitioning to green slowly, But maybe it can do that. Because I know it does for certain games. Like if you play Overwatch, your like ultimate ability is on Q, and when it's ready, that'll light up just as another visual indicator in case you weren't, looking.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I think that's just your god complex, Dale. You just let things be light. And you're like, yep, I'm getting off on that.
Yep.
But yeah, we do have here 1993 Batman doing a Google search or asking Jeeves, and to see that like, oh hey, these two guys apparently work together when I type their names into the computer. So
yeah, it's a very effective system. That is like the modern world, isn't it? That's how I get all of the credits off IMDb.
Yeah, this is basically Batman doing what we do for Batman every week. It's like, oh,
these two guys work together.
Also, yeah, there's that very specific function on IMDb where you can just cross-reference everything that two people have both been in. But I need to admit to you right now that the reason I know that is because I used to be deep into like play-by-post forum roleplay sort of things for like X-Men and stuff. And so people would pick a face claim for their character that's just an actor. And then if you did scenes with another character with a different face claim, you would cross-reference through IMDb to see what they were in so you could get photos of them together and treat it as if it was your characters.
Oh, wow.
Amazing. I love it.
There you go. There's a real insight. Every now and then I think maybe people don't think I'm that much of a nerd, and then I say something like that, and it's just so painfully obvious.
You just let the mask slip once more, Dale. Mm-hmm. I always thought your best YouTube stuff was all like the TED Talks, the too easily distracted things where you go insanely nerdy and things like this is so enjoyable.
Oh, it got real deep. I mean, sidebar, I do have an ADHD diagnosis now, so some things there make sense. But I also I did a stream at some point with Omar where it was basically just a live version of my TED stuff because I'd been thinking too much about Jumanji.
We'll get into like what the old one or the new one, but then we'll go on a whole tangent then, I guess, if we go down
It was the old one, but it was also specifically the mechanics of the board game itself. Anyway.
There's a little thing on the back computer there. It kind of looks like the Jumanji game, actually. The little kind of circle with the dots underneath it and stuff. But,
Batman gamer confirmed.
I was sitting there with a little headset like, oh, Alfred, I gotta take out this little dweeb and get out of somewhere.
He called me a noob.
It's like, and then I got around to looking up who Chucky Saw was in business with.
I totally buy Batman as a gamer, especially at RPATs.
Oh, yes.
He just stays up playing, I reckon Final Fantasy 14, the online one. He just plays that all the time. He's a cat girl on it.
Or he's just like, oh, I've met a cat woman now. Like, this is weird.
Well, exactly. Yeah. That's what drew him to the character.
Yeah. We then get seeing a list of companies that Buzz Bronski and Chucky Saw were involved in. So there's Putchett and Peterson come up on the screen there. And then above that is Big Time Amusements, which I'm assuming, like, maybe that's why, like, Sal Valestra knows where the Joker is later, because he's just like, he rented one of our old amusement parks, I guess, to hide out in. We couldn't get
normal, yeah.
Yeah. Although he's hiding out in the World's Fair, I guess, but, whatever. But I was also hoping they had maybe, like, this Icelandic music spin-off company was Big Time Sensualities.
Oh!
But, there's a little Bjork joke there for people.
That's their fetish wing of their business.
I will say, too, a recent convert. I don't know if you're a big Bjork fan, Dale. But I'm assuming from that silence, no. But,
I am, a medium amount of familiar with Björk.
but like one of her big singles in the 90s was a dance track called Big Time Sensuality. And I hate it. I hate the single. I never liked it until I came across the last couple of months. There's a live unplugged version of her doing it where they take out all the beats and it's just her with bongos and some guy playing like an organ. And it's like the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. It's like,
that seems like how all Björk should be played, with just bongos and an organ.
Yeah.
But yeah, so of course the major companies they come across here, Batman, is that we get the O'Neill Funding Corporation and Adams Tool and Die, which is of course a reference to Denny O'Neill and Neil Adams.
Yeah.
So highly reputed Batman combo team, which is really weird because they only ever did like 11 issues together back in the 70s.
But you know what? If they're issues that people really connect to, that's all that matters.
Yeah. It's one of those. I don't know if you have ever. You might have come across Denny O'Neil, Dale, because he died a couple of years ago, and he's like he's a big wheel down the Batman factory, basically. But yeah, him and Neil Adams in particular, they came on in like Detective Comics 395 and a comic called The Secret of the Waiting Graves, wherein Batman he goes out on a holiday with some guy, and this guy keeps almost getting killed. And the hosts are it's in Mexico. The hosts are called the Muertos. And you're like, so their name is Spanish for death.
Yeah.
Could it be that they're the people trying to kill them? Yes.
Never would have guessed.
All I can think of as well is, have you ever seen Undercover Blues?
No, don't think so.
It's like Stanley Tucci is a bad guy who's saying, I am Muertos, but they keep calling him Morty. Hey, Morty, how's it going?
Oh, that's amazing.
But yeah, then those two guys work together on and off. It's one of those weird ones where like they worked on like Green Lantern together for like, months and months and months consecutively. And people don't really remember that so much, but like they did sporadic Batman stories just every now and again, 11 times. And it's the combo of Neil Adams, and like he was the guy, like his Batman, the way he drew him, it kind of went from being like the old, golden age, kind of silver age, kind of like, oh, Batman, blue cape, and, kind of he's always smiling and stuff. And then Neil Adams started adding like dark detailing around him, and then all of a sudden the cape started getting more swirly and curly and billowy and stuff. And then all of a sudden he was scowling all the time, and it eventually became like, oh, Neil Adams' Batman is essentially what a lot of people think of as Batman now. And yeah, they did a bunch of stories throughout the years together. One of which being the most famous being they co-created Ra's al Ghul together.
Ooh.
And yeah. Denny O'Neil created Ra's al Ghul, then adapted his own origin story for script for the Batman animated series. And then they did what was the plot line's called, like the Demon Reborn or something, where they introduced the Lazarus Pits. But that story notably ends with Batman doing a shirtless sword fight with Ra's al Ghul.
There's a picture of it right here.
Yeah.
So I was Googling while you were talking. I see it. Shirtless sword fight right there.
Yeah. And so
That's
they bring
what we
up
all want.
That's regarded as one of the best Batman stories of all time. And of course, what's Alfred doing in the background there? But cleaning Batman's fencing foils while he's talking about O'Neil and O'Neil Adams. So I think that might be a little could there be a subtext moment that they're going on there.
I like that you used the correct term there as well, foil.
Oh, of course. Well, there's very particularly that they're fencing foils. That's like, I don't know, Batman's like, no real swords in the cave or whatever. Or Alfred's like, no real sword. There's a child running around here as well, Master Bruce, for the love of God. But,
I was fascinated watching him clean them, to the point where I researched how to clean a fencing foil. It's not very interesting, but I can tell you if you want. So you strip the saber down. It says clean the blade and tang. I don't know what that is. With a nail buffing block or a rust removal block. Oil with WD-40, gun oil, or even olive oil. Okay. And sure.
I love it when guides online will be like, all you need to do is get some gun oil or some gunpowder. And it's like, oh, US defaultism, I see.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I wouldn't know where. I think they put the olive oil in for people over here, because I wouldn't know where you get gun oil. WD-40, okay, but yeah. You do have to file away burrs on the edge of the guard. I'm guessing from it getting nicked, so it must like make little sharp bits.
This is another video though for the ambience. It's like Alfred cleaning fencing foils.
You know what?
Yeah, there it
You've
is.
got a whole empire of YouTube ambient videos waiting for you. It's going to be perfect.
That sounds like another ASMR thing. People enjoying the sound of Alfred, filing the flakes away on the side of the guard.
Then we just get really crazy and we throw in one of like, it's Sal Balestra's oxygen tank. It's 10 hours of.
I want that.
had our little sticking things on the fencing swords getting cleaned, because it should be such a throwaway thing that no one pays attention to. But I also paid attention to it. For me, it was because I was like, Batman doesn't use swords. Why are these even in the Batcave? It's so silly and pretentious. And then my brother pointing out that he's probably just a fencing nerd.
But I'll back you up, right? Because, yeah, he probably is. But they're not integral to his Batman persona. Keep them upstairs.
No. Leave them in the mansion.
Yeah.
I think it's a thing, though. Again, Batman's thing is like, always for contingencies upon contingencies. So he could be like training and fencing for years. It's like, you're never going to use this, Bruce. What the hell are you doing? And then that time when Ra's al Ghul throws a sword at him, he's like, let's do it, buddy. He's like, I am so ready for this. Because
when Damian Wayne shows up, suddenly he feels real smug about his choices.
Yeah. We'll mention also, apparently, there was an abandoned script from the animated series we brought up briefly in the past, because it has elements of Mask of the Phantasm in it, but it's a script by the recently bereaved Michael B. Reeves. Sadly passed away after we finished talking about him already on the show, weirdly enough. But he wrote a script called The Vigil, and in that it goes into Batman's training, and it specifies that Alfred taught him fencing. So that was worth. So maybe this is their bonding time. I was like, oh yeah, he likes to be doing Batman stuff, but I do like spending time with who is essentially my son. So the only way I get to do it is by us fencing together.
It's under the guise of, martial training.
Yeah. So this is just Alfred trying to spend time with his kid, and he's just like, okay, you can play on your computer now, so after we're going over. Oh, Alfred, there's just one dweeb in San Antonio. I'm totally blasting him in the face. But yeah, so the O'Neill Funding Corporation, self-explanatory. Adams, Tool, and Die. What the hell does that company do?
No idea. I couldn't fathom it at all. Tool and Die. Like, okay, tools. Yes.
Tools.
Yeah. Die.
And Die?
But it's a die with an I. It's not die with a Y.
Yeah, but okay, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt and assume they just can't spell. But even then, tools and die are not like they don't super go hand in hand.
No. Well, then again, die are tools for Dungeons and Dragons.
That's true. Maybe that's what they meant.
It's
maybe
technically
this
a tool.
We should do a specialist Dungeons and Dragons channel, Dale, called Dale's Tool and Die.
Dale's Tool and Die, exactly.
There you go.
Well, but it's but no, it makes it sound more sinister too, because it's like Tool and Die. Oh, it's tools for killing people. It's a mobster company. Like it's like, oh, so we'll sell you the pickaxe that you can crack someone's head open with, or whatever. Like
the tools of the trade, as it were.
Yeah. But it was just, why you could have called it anything. Why Tool and Die? I'm sure now we'll probably get loads of comments of people going, a Tool and Die company, you idiots, is clearly a thing. Like, it'll be all people who are in their 40s who were like, or in their 50s who were like dads in the 90s.
There's going to be a part of a drill or something that's called a die. It's going to be there's going to be some tool word that we don't know.
Right, I've looked it up, and it is. But at the same time, it's not a thing you would really bother putting in your name. You just tool. Because it says die, tool or device for imparting a desired shape, form, or finish to a material. Examples include a perforated block through which metal or plastic is drawn or extruded. Okay,
so then this business sells dies specifically, and just all the other tools generally.
Yeah, everyone only wants dies. But, if you really need something else, we got that too.
That's the big problem in Gotham hardware stores. It's like, no one ever has dies. And they're like, we're tools.
No one ever sells
but we've also got the dies.
It's because they've got the monopoly on the die business.
I assume maybe they just thought, like, it sounds cool as well. Tool and die. Whereas, I guess if you're not, like, a handy person, you're just going to be like, what? Like all three of us were just going... What the hell are you talking about, Tool and Die?
We're all from generations that don't need to know this stuff.
Yeah. Oh. This also adds in, too, though, to a thing I think I mentioned previously, but, like, they always throw in little, like, mentions of Denny O'Neill, and, like, they'll have Robinson Park in Gotham, which is referencing Jerry Robinson, who co-created the Joker and stuff. But it's always weird because like the big guy who's getting his heyday as being like essentially the creator of Batman is Bill Finger. And you can never really go like Finger, Tool, and Die because it'll just sound weird. Like the Finger Funding Corporation. You're gonna be, Finger's just too weird a name to put in references. You can't call it Finger Park. It sounds odd.
It sounds odd with everything.
Maybe that's why Bob Kane screwed him so much. He's like, Bill, you can't put your name on things because you got a silly name. Okay, people hear Finger. They think of certain things, all right, man. Like that's all I'm gonna say. But yeah. So we had a discussion with Adams, Tool, and Die, and all these other companies that are popping up there. That's kind of all my notes for minute 32. Have you got anything else you want to? Any other ambient sounds you think we can add on to the YouTube playlist or anything like that?
No, I think we've hit the limit for this one. Anyway, I'm sure we'll come up with more.
Because I mean, it's hard because the next minute starts with such a juicy moment.
Yeah, we will depart then. If you're all ready, we'll head off into the dark night. Ooh. I like the way I say it, as if we're going to do that to return the following day. No, our show's every 2 days. So we're going to go chill. We're going to relax. We're going to spend all the money you give us. Which is not a lot, really.
What are you talking about, John? We're doing great.
Pony up some more. Come on, everyone. No.
We
do this for fun.
We put all the money into dummy corporations such as Dale's Tool and Die.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
But we need extra
purveyors
funding.
of ambient Batman videos.
Yeah, we need money to make those,
and also
right?
dies.
If you want our official Sleepy Charlie Media dies, do get in touch, DM us, drop into our inbox, and we will sort you out with those. But join us again on Friday for more That Minute of the Phantasm. Next time, banter boils over between a butler and a dark knight as Pennyworth prods his employer about diapered bottoms and swiping right. The sepulchral savior soon slinks off, but can our hot-headed hero keep his cool investigating Valestra's vestibule? We're noseying into an ancient ne'er-do-well next time, folks. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
Must have dope, stiff it,